Majora's Incarnation, the odd middle child of Majora's forms. So you all know of the first form, the mask, because it's the title of the game, that's how you usually see it. Then Majora's Wrath is the real final boss and seems to be like the true form of it, and they should put this thing in Hyrule Warriors. Then in between this is Majora's Incarnation, the most odd and overlooked form of it, and it's also the most fucked up form. The thing is this weird scrawny dancer thing that yells and clucks around like a chicken, and as you're fighting it, it sprints around and spins like a ballerina while like laughing and screaming, and it moonwalks, and yeah, I guess it just represents the chaotic form of Majora. And, that scream when you heard it, it is up there. It's this loud, horrible screech that actually kind of like makes you feel bad for hurting it. And it's just seems a lot more pronounced than the scream that Wrath does. And it's just such a super messed up thing. Moon crashing cutscene, as we alluded to, if you let the timer out in this game, then you game over and you have to restart from day one, your last save there, and you get this cutscene, and as you can expect, since it's depicting like Termina being destroyed, it's super dark and unsettling, and it's one of the few cases where you can see Link just like straight up die for real, getting hit by the explosion of it all, and probably taking out everybody else that was with it. And the last thing that you see is the mask flying in amongst the flames, and then you hear the echo again. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? And, like, this is already upsetting to see, but then that's just such an eerie way to end it all, and it's definitely one of the darker things ever added to a Zelda game, and I think it might be, like, one of the only, like, bad endings ever put into one. Other days. So everybody knows about the 4th day glitch. You exit the telescope at the right moment, and you're like in this like extra day that's like super odd and broken, and the moon is super small, like how it is when you beat the game. It resets back to its 0 position, and yeah, there's some extra things you can do, but not really as far as I know. Let's talk about things that there's actually a day 0 too, and activating day 0 is a lot more complicated than 4. I'll give a briefing of what I know of, but if you really want to know, I recommend reading about it on Zelda speedruns. And the way you do is that you save at that extra owl statue. It's the one that you see like in the transitional area from like one of the wings of Clocktown into the main area. It's a replica of the normal owl statue that's usually in the center. Anyways, if you manage to reach that, and you set it as safe because it is its own separate statue, then it reset, you'll be in the mayor's office, and then you have to do another glitch where you store text, specifically store text that asks if you want to reset time after playing the Song of Time, and then you select yes at the right time, and you will appear at day 0, and you can do a ton of other glitches here, such as using any item as any transformation, and setting anything you want on the C buttons, and duplicating bottles, and certain quests will just immediately finish during day 0, and there's a lot to it. And we don't really know what the whole deal with all of this stuff happening exactly is, like why that occurs. Well, I'm sure somebody like Squonk has gone more into it. But we do know that there originally was a plan for there to be more than 3 days, like 7 in particular, so I don't know if this could have anything to do with it. Mass transformations. Another thing that I can only explain is them just deliberately only wanting to scare the fucking shit off kids playing this game is that they made all of the transformation cutscenes for the mask just super horrifying and just as scary and traumatizing as possible, where you'll hear like cracking around as Link starts gasping, and then he'll scream, and they all have their own unique scream animations, where the red eyes bulge over Deku, and with the sword one he looks like a freaking vampire, and It's just, why would you do this? And they know what they're doing. They think it's freaking funny because the interviews are like, oh no, Link's not in pain. He's just overwhelmed from getting like all of the memories and feelings from the previous person flowed into him. And yeah, so I definitely think this is just meant to fuck with everyone. Mirror Shield design. For no real reason, the Mirror Shield's design is really creepy, being this face, and it looks like someone who was caught like post-mortem, or like their face was like peeled off and put into this, and you never hear it pointed out or really mentioned ever, and it probably is something like that because you find it in the Gibdo well, and it's just another thing where they wanted this to be as creepy as possible. Moon Children, the last NPCs that you talk to in the game, and again, there's never really any discussion whatsoever as what the deal with this is, what the deal with the inside of the moon is, and just everything. It's just up to your own interpretations, and they're all running around, and they seem to resemble the Happy Mask salesman somehow, and it's believed that the 4 kids running around represent the giants, while the one cowering in the middle against the tree is Skull Kid, and shows him being sad and lonely after being banned by the giants, and yeah, there's that whole entire thing to it, and again, this is only something that can be theoretically talked about. Skull Kid's Scream, not much to say, just that it's another thing that's just very over-the-top horrifying for no reason other than just because it can be, and it's an amazing sound effect. The voice actors did an amazing job screaming, and I love Skull Kid's voice, and fun fact, she went on to be Link in Wind Waker. Odolwa's noises. So this is another thing that a lot of people just found like uncanny and, kind of eerie and unsettling, and like scared of it while fighting him. It's just chanting and his singing as you're facing him. And yeah, just another thing I guess they put in there to like intimidate players. And recently there's been a video uploaded showing where they found those as part of a stock library, as you can expect. And there's actually someone in the comments saying that a relative of theirs was the ones who recorded this chanting, and if I can find it, I'll probably link that video in the description. Lobotomized Romani. Even those who haven't played this game have probably seen this cutscene before, and something that you're going to stumble upon by yourself while playing without any context for the first time, and it's just such an eerie thing. As we talked about in the first layer, she gets abducted by them, if you don't save her, and she comes back on the 3rd day, and you just see her in this state, confused, not remembering anything, dazed, hardly able to talk. She has this droning look on her face that's just completely dead, and she's just like, what happened? I don't remember. And she starts like shaking her head and grabbing it, and it's really sad and just really uncomfortable, and it's especially confusing on your first time seeing it. Gibdo Dad, mentioned him on the first layer, and it's one of the most like kind of like almost jump scary moments, and it's definitely one that sticks like even amongst this game in your mind after you first see it, and it's one of the most like disturbing models and noises they've made. If you go inside that house that's ending kind of valley and into the basement, then this guy will pop out just completely unprompted, and it's definitely meant to be a jump scare, and you see him like all wrapped up, but then there's this part of his face sticking out just dead and his jaw hanging open. He's moaning with this weird unique sound effect, and it's like a panic of like, what do I do? If you try to attack him, then the daughter will come up and like scream like stop, and like it's a reveal that she's had to like put up with this by herself, which is like really sad, and she has to lock him back into that closet or wardrobe or whatever it is, and like his moaning gets like even more upset sounding, which is all really disturbing. However, if you played the Song of Healing, then it ends up being one of the most emotionally touching moments in the series where they actually cure him. And you'll see him and his daughter reunite and hug and everything, and it's really nice. Killing Saikon, the thief. So, during the events where you stop him from robbing the old lady who runs at the bun shop, so ordinarily you're supposed to chase after him and slash him with the sword, and like it drops the bag that he took. However, if you hit him with like an arrow or just really any non-slashing attack, then he won't drop the bag. The bag will explode, and Saikon will explode with it, and that's it. He's just gone. Like, he's actually gone. He doesn't come back. He doesn't respawn. Any events that normally have him, like the Sun Mask thing, he's not there anymore. Like, he does not come back until you reset the time cycle. You killed him. And yeah, that's like, what the fuck? When you think about that and how they just straight up put that in the game, it's insane. And as far as I know, it's the only time you can just kill like a regular NPC in the Zelda game. Signs of Grief. Again, the stupid ass Link is dead bullshit that I'm sure everyone's moved on about. I don't even gotta talk about it. It's not on here. But this is a good thing to look at because I feel like this is a real thing that's Zelda. It's just an interesting to talk about, being that each area represents a stage of grief, and you know, just generally all of the characters and stuff like also just show like grieving, and you know, it's overall just a huge theme of the game. And there's always a thing of Clocktown being denial because everybody's like arguing about like whether or not the moon's like actually falling, whether they're in danger, and they're just proceeding with the carnival like normal. The swamp is anger because, you know, the Deku, the king in particular, is raging and they want to, like, execute the monkey, and they're just immediately blaming everything on them. And, Snowhead is bargaining because the Gorons are all just, like, waiting, expecting, like, for not Darunia, you know, their heroes to come back in, save them or anyone. And, yeah, and they're just also waiting for, like, winter to end eventually. And then Great Bay is depression, because, you know, Lulu is just straight up depressed. Like, there's no other ways of going that, and it's all dreary and sad. And then Ikana's acceptance, because that place is already just dead, as I said in the first layer. And next up, we're going to talk about things that people don't really bring up.